Some of these videos are more difficult to make than others. Narrowing down my top 10 Final Fantasy characters and numbering them was one of the hardest things I've had to do for a video so far. Final Fantasy has some of the best characters in gaming, and after being a fan since the beginning, I figured now was as good a time as any to talk about my favorites. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to help grow the channel, and let me know your favorite Final Fantasy characters in the comments below. Now let's get started.
Number 10.
Number 10 is from many people's favorite game in the franchise. Cid Highwind enters the story of Final Fantasy VII a broken man. His dreams of making it to space were ruined by his assistant Shera, who put her life on the line to save his at the cost of his rocket launch failing. Cid is a miserable man living alone with Shera, who now looks after him. When the party stumbles into his town during Rufus Shinra's visit, they team up to escape with Cid's airplane, the Tiny Bronco. Cid is a fantastic character who grows throughout the story. He actually ends up leading the party for a while when Cloud is down and out, ends up learning what actually happened during the original rocket launch, and forgives and feels terrible for the way he had been treating Shera all these years. On top of that, Cid is really good in battle, and has the best limit break in the game in my opinion, when he calls upon his airship the Highwind to lay waste to his enemies. Not only is he a great character with great abilities in battle, the man also ends up reaching his goal of being the first man in space, and if not for his inventions bailing out the party on multiple occasions, the mission to take down Sephiroth would not go on.
Number 9.
According to the history books, Delita is the hero and commoner who became king to bring peace to a chaotic land. But in reality, he was a bit of an asshole who used his friends in high places like Ramza to cut the head off the leading forces in the land and unite them under one ruler, himself. To Delita, the ends always justified the means. But he wasn't just some dastardly villain. Delita was brought up around nobles, yet was always meant to feel lesser to them because of his family's status as poor farmers. As his life went on, he became more and more fed up with this fact, until the day his sister was allowed to be sacrificed, for the greater good, to take down a member of an opposing army. After this moment, Delita fought to overthrow the nobles and recreate the hierarchy the way he believed it should be. The way Delita forced and calculated the events in Final Fantasy Tactics shows how intelligent and powerful this man is. From best friend to bitter yet sometimes reluctant rival, Delita's motives and morals are something the player and Ramza are continuously trying to figure out. And the fact that the very man who hated the class system and would do anything to kill anyone to reach his goals is a truly tragic irony. Would the young man before the events of Final Fantasy Tactics be proud, or hate the man he becomes in the end?
Number 8.
The daughter of the great Lord Braska who brought about the calm, Yuna goes on a pilgrimage to continue in her father's footsteps. Yuna is the most powerful character in Final Fantasy X, as not only is she a badass summoner who can call upon godlike creatures to lay waste to her enemies, but she can also make her way over to Lulu's magic abilities in the Sphere Grid and become an all-powerful mage. That's right, when it comes to combat and leveling, you can turn Yuna into an ultra-powerful summoning red mage. Story-wise, Yuna is leading her guardians on a journey to take out Sin, a massive monster whose power is a force of nature. On her journey, she not only has to worry about all the dangers of the monsters and beasts along the way, but also the people who would do their best to use her to their advantage, and those who would stop her in hopes to spare her life. You see, Yuna's not just powerful in a magical or summoning sense, she also has a powerful will to do what's best for the world, no matter her personal sacrifice. For being the beacon of light in a world that desperately needs one, and always putting the needs of the people before her own, Yuna easily earns the number 8 spot on the list.
Number 7.
A soldier in the Galbadian army during the Sorceress War, Laguna's dream was to become a journalist who would travel the world, but what he became was so much more. Using his adventures in the army, Laguna would write for the Timber Maniacs magazine, chronicling his experiences and travels. Laguna was a great man with great aspirations, but when he found the nation of Esthar unearthing a monolithic crystal-like structure, him and his team were defeated and leapt into the sea below, fleeing for their lives. Laguna was nursed back to health by the woman who would become the love of his life, Rain, in Windhill. While the men of Windhill were away fighting in the Sorceress War, Laguna took it upon himself to protect the village from any enemies or monsters that would try to invade. After losing the woman he loved and having his daughter kidnapped, Laguna got the gang back together to search for his daughter and take out the sorceress. Before, as well as during the course of Final Fantasy VIII, Laguna's life and adventures are a highlight of this fantastic game. So many fans want to know more about his adventures during and even before the Sorceress War, but the small teases of information we got give us this great profile of this great man we all love. For putting an end to the Sorceress War that plagued the world, as well as being the most inspiring and likable character in this world of constant turmoil, Laguna stands strong at number 7.
Number 6.
Tifa is one of the greatest Final Fantasy characters of all time, and not just because she's an absolute babe with a huge rack. As Cloud's childhood friend, Tifa does all she can to help him realize his true past without creating conflict or confusion for him. A true friend who's also brave enough to lead both Zack and Sephiroth up to the Nibelheim reactor at only 15 years old. Not only did she lead them to the reactor, but after Sephiroth went mad, Tifa took it upon herself to try killing Sephiroth as revenge for her father's death at his hands. Tifa never lost that courage and drive. When she meets up with Cloud again years later, they catch up as old friends and she convinces him to join Avalanche. Together with Cloud in the party, Tifa helps to hunt down Sephiroth and lead Cloud to the truth about what happened years ago in their hometown. Tifa isn't just the most caring and bravest character in Final Fantasy VII, she's also really good in combat. Using her martial arts skills to be able to perform multiple combos during her limit breaks sets her ahead of the others. There's also a trick in Final Fantasy VII that makes Tifa super OP fairly early in the game. If you equip the Power Soul weapon and use Death Sentence on her to give her the status effect, then have her use Death Blow, you'll be one-hit killing dudes in no time. All these great reasons and more are why Tifa deserves to be the number 6 Final Fantasy character of all time. Suck it, Aeris fans.
Number 5.
Steiner may start off as an annoying buffoon, but as he grows through the story, he becomes one of the most likable, honorable, and powerful characters in Final Fantasy IX. Steiner is the leader of the Knights of Pluto, and it's his duty to serve under Queen Braun and protect the princess and the Kingdom of Alexandria. When presented with constant evidence that suggests Queen Braun's corruption, he still tries to see the good in her, owing his livelihood and status to this woman who saw something special in him. He's constantly outperformed by Beatrix, the top general of Alexandria, which creates a bit of a despising rivalry between the two of them. But when they both eventually realize what is at stake, they're able to grow and put their differences aside to protect the people of their great kingdom. Steiner's personal dilemma is that he feels like he must serve the now corrupt queen, who gave him the opportunity to lead his own knights. But as time goes on, he learns about the evils his master has done, and needs to decide what side he's on. Coming to terms with this information forces him to grow as a character, putting the protection of the fleeing and righteous Princess Garnet as his top priority. He eventually makes friends with the very people he was trying to arrest. Steiner's growth, his interaction with the other characters, and his passion to duty make him stand out among other characters in the franchise. He's a character that starts off annoying and comical, but becomes a powerful defender of what is right. For those reasons and more, Steiner stands strong, guarding the number 5 spot.
Number 4.
Cecil Harvey was a Dark Knight who led the infamous Baron Red Wings, the most powerful airship squadron of all time. A grateful servant to the king, who took him in and raised him as his own. Cecil began to question both himself and his leader after a mission of unwarranted theft and possible genocide against the Mysidians and the Summoners of the Mist Village. After finding out he inadvertently murdered a young summoner's mother and burned her village to the ground, Cecil comes to his senses and vows to protect the girl as well as get to the bottom of what's going on with the nation he once served. Cecil's growth and internal conflict are central to the plot of Final Fantasy IV, and throughout his journey he finds himself fighting against not only his countrymen, but a man he considered like a brother as well. His courage, morality, and guilt are all used to mold himself into one of the greatest characters in Final Fantasy. His desire to repent and fight to defend those who can't defend themselves is a large part of what drives him to become the man he is in the after years. And once you get him back into your party in the after years, he continues to fight to protect all that he had fought for in the original Final Fantasy IV.
Number 3.
Vivi's story is that of dying and coping with the deaths of others. An innocent black mage, Vivi is childlike in design and nature. It's this innocence that is put to the test when he's confronted with his own people and the reason for their creation. You see, black mages don't exist naturally in the world of Gaia, but are instead crafted using mist by factories in Dali to be used for war by Queen Braun. With this knowledge, Vivi's mind is in an ongoing conflict, not knowing if he's really alive or just a construct of man who doesn't matter. Throughout the game, this inner conflict continues to show up, and as he learns more about the Black Mages, he does what he can to protect them and his friends using his special powers. Vivi's journey is one of realization and heartbreak, and this story is told so damn well in Final Fantasy IX. When Vivi finally comes to terms with what he is, and takes it upon himself to make himself matter, he uses this knowledge to help others when they become depressed or conflicted about their own lives. All these reasons, as well as the fact that Vivi is an extremely powerful black mage, who in trance can double cast Doomsday like it's nobody's business, makes Vivi my third favorite character in the Final Fantasy franchise.
Number 2.
Despite not giving into the darkness like his best friend Cecil, Kain is a man who ends up being controlled by his own demons. Raised alongside Cecil by the King of Baron, Kain's jealousy of Cecil began to grow over the years. You see, Cecil was a Dark Knight, the highest renowned class in all of Baron, but Kain wanted to follow in his father's footsteps and became the leader of the Dragoons. King Baron had always treated Cecil better than him. Not only that, but it was Cecil who got to command the notorious Red Wings fleet, and it was Cecil who got the girl Rosa, who Kain himself also had liked. Despite all this bundled up jealousy, Cecil and Kain were still best friends who were proud to fight at each other's side. Unfortunately, a dark force would arrive and use this hidden jealousy to control Kain's mind, forcing him to gather up the crystals and try to defeat his best friend. Deep down, a part of Kain wanted to destroy Cecil and take what he thought should have been his, but over time, and with the help of Cecil and his friends, Kain is able to once again regain control of his mind and his emotions, at least long enough to take down the evil and powerful Zeromus. After fighting at Cecil's side to save the world, everyone celebrates and promises to protect their countries to prevent something like this from ever happening again. Everyone, that is, except Kain. Kain sees that his jealousy is his biggest weakness and is embarrassed by the fact that someone was able to use this darkness within him to completely control him. So he leaves Baron and Cecil behind, vowing not to return until he has conquered his demons. Like Cecil before him, Kain climbs Mount Ordeals to face his dark side, much like how Cecil once did. Unfortunately for Kain, he fails once again where Cecil had succeeded. Kain allows his dark side to escape the mirrored chamber and head out into the world where he can live out his darkest desires, impersonating the real Kain. The real Kain lives as a bit of a hermit until he meets up with Cecil's son Theodore, who needs his help. Kain and Theodore sneak into Baron to find Cecil under control by a mysterious force, similar to what happened to Kain himself years ago. Inside Baron Castle, Kain comes face to face with his evil self, and finally defeats him. But instead of killing his dark half, he comes to the realization that evil Kain is a part of him that he must come to terms with. It was never Cecil's fault that he was preferred over him. Cecil never asked to be treated better, he never forced Rosa to fall in love with him. Kain, in realizing he had only himself to blame for his issues, came to terms with this and absorbed his dark half, knowing full well that now he would be able to control and understand his feelings. After merging with his darkness, he is given the power of the Holy Dragoon and becomes quite possibly the most badass character in all of Final Fantasy. Kain's incredible personal journey across both Final Fantasy IV as well as the After Years made him my second favorite Final Fantasy character of all time. We all have our flaws. We just need to do our best to make sure it's our assets that we focus on and not let our flaws and personal demons control us. All these reasons and the fact that Kain is the most badass character in all of Final Fantasy have him ranked so highly on my list. There's no duo better than Cecil and Kain.
Number 1.
Zidane Tribal starts off as a happy-go-lucky thief who hangs out with a traveling theater group. But after a rocky rescue of Princess Garnet from her own kingdom, he's thrust into a grand adventure to uncover the truth about Alexandria, the world of Gaia, and most importantly, himself. Zidane lives by the motto that you don't need a reason to help people, and it shows in his character. Constantly going out of his way to help others and build them up, Zidane is a character that I myself aspire to be more like. When people are in danger, need emotional or mental support, Zidane is always there for them. He doesn't care about who someone once was, he cares about who they are now, and what they can do to better themselves. Along his travels he meets countless old friends as well as makes new ones. He even wins over Amarant, the man hired to kill Zidane. After seeing the person Zidane truly is, Amarant can't help but join him and see him as some sort of inspiration. When Vivi is contemplating his own existence and importance, it's Zidane who helps him to focus on who he is now and why he matters. Even the stubborn Steiner eventually bends to Zidane's drive and kindness, agreeing to join him in his quest for truth and discovery. After helping everyone around him reach their goals and happiness, Zidane finds himself in a situation of self-doubt. A situation where he starts to believe that he himself is meaningless. Just a drone, created for a simple destructive purpose. Showing how even those of us who want the best out of others, those of us who seem like we have everything under control and want others to reach the same amount of control over their lives, even we can hit rock bottom, just like everyone else. We are all living beings with our own doubts and self-critiques, but through helping others, we can help ourselves. And even when we can't, it's those that we've helped who can dig us out of our deepest, darkest moments. Zidane is someone we should all try to be more like. In this modern age of social media, we sometimes fail to see how we might be hurting others. At the same time, we're all here to enjoy ourselves. If we could all be more like Cecil, having the desire to see our faults and reconcile them, and Vivi, focusing on the person we are right now, and how to make the best of things while we're still around. And Kain, taking control of our undeserved negative thoughts and jealousy. And most importantly, Zidane, have the strong desire to help others in need, while taking things with a grain of salt and knowing everyone out there is fighting their own individual battles. I think the world would be a better place. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help grow the channel. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Dookie03, where I'm usually streaming JRPGs 3 nights per week. I hope you enjoyed my top 10 Final Fantasy characters video. Be sure to let me know yours in the comments below, and have a great rest of your day.